Live.
Here we go. So we've got Sandra in the room already.
I can't see anybody who's in the room, so hello. If anyone's there, you can probably just see my face. I'm Richard.
Hi, Richard.
Is that you posing as somebody, Damien?
No, I think Sandra's in the room with us now. Oh, there's a few people.
Why can't I see who's in the room?
Are you clicking the wrong button?
Oh, which button do I need to click?
Yeah, pass.
Don't know.
We've got Neil with us, Paul. You're Richard, aren't you? So I won't count you.
The ugly mug on the screen, I presume, is me, Richard. So for those of you, and the guy talking a lot about who's in the room is Damien, just so people know.
All of the people.
So I can't see any chats, but I'm wondering if there's anything coming through. So why don't somebody just say hello in the chat box? That would be great, just so we know this thing's working. You can hear us. We're going to switch to presentation mode in a minute, so you don't have to suffer looking at us all the time.
Well, at this point, it's just looking at you, to be honest.
Ah, we can't see you in the bottom.
I've passed, actually, don't know. Can you see me in the bottom?
I can.
Ah, then maybe.
All right. So I'm not seeing any chats come through. So maybe it's probably just people just put something in the chat box if you can either see or hear or both.
Paul's just said hi.
And I can't see that. And maybe there's a delay on my end. Let's have a look. Paul, did you say?
Paul, yeah.
Hello, Paul. Just wondering why I can't see the chat though. So I'll have a look at some of this. So are we doing well? What does that do? Oh, I've just closed chat. Probably I don't press too many buttons.
You can tell we're good at property, not so much at technology. One more than the other. So
I still can't see any questions, but never mind.
I guess I'll be fielding the questions from people then. So
yep.
It's not working in webinar, apparently.
The webinar?
Andy. Oh, so Andy can only see the video on YouTube, not on the webinar.
I can only see the video on YouTube, but not the video.
I mean, honestly, I'm impressed.
You said hello, everybody, in my name.
Well, yeah. I'm you today.
Oh, so no swearing.
Paul had to load it in YouTube as well. I don't really understand what that means.
Yeah, the way that Google Hangouts works is it kind of does connect that way. But OSC, because I've also got it. Playback on other websites has been disabled by the video owner. Did you mean to do that, Damien? Because I've also got the registrant page open.
I have no idea how you even control that sort of thing.
Should we? Can only see in YouTube. Can only see in YouTube. Everyone's saying the same thing. I wonder if I press watching YouTube, what happens? Ah, okay. So it literally only gets into YouTube.
Well, that's useless.
And there's a slight delay as well. Yeah. So I don't know if there's anything you can do there, Damien, to fix that.
Blindly panic for a while and push buttons.
Guys, I'm really sorry. It's been a while since we did a webinar jam, and we're just a little bit rusty. We're going to get into some content in a minute. Once we figure that, I wonder if there's a setting we need to do. We need to change. Hello, Paul, Andy, Con, Paddy.
So you can see people now then?
I've got both the registration page version open and the presenter page open. So it's kind of confusing, but yep. But there's no video playback unless you click on the YouTube version, which everyone's saying. Hello, Sandra. We just also allowing a bit of time. We had a, dirty dozen, or actually more than that, quite a few registrants for the webinar, so we're just allowing a little bit of time, not too much, a little bit of time for that to come through. So if you bear with us while we meet and greet. How's everybody's week going so far? Anybody want to share? I think, by the way, there's something like 10 to 20-second delay between us hearing you and video chat coming through. Video? Yeah, chat coming through. All's good. So, Damien, I'm imagining you're fixing that. Are you fixing it?
What am I fixing?
The display. Is there a setting which we need to change to so it's not viewed through YouTube?
Well, give me a minute.
Meanwhile, I'll go back to say hello to everyone. Oh, Paul, you're coming on the 22nd. It'd be great to see you. So I guess I should say something rather than you just looking at me. What we're planning to do today is there's obviously going to be a bit of training, but we're going to try and make it applicable to what we do as well, and you know, share some of the mistakes, some of the learning that we've made over the years in putting this together and how it's got to this stage. But it's all about business planning, but it's about action and it's about practical application. There's you can go and get templates of business plans off the internet. There's no secret that's the case. What we've got here, though, is something that's been tailor-made for property business, and we use it in our own business, in fact, and it's kind of just a handy way to go about things. But I think probably the biggest takeaway of all is that without application and action and effort on our part, it's no good, really. It's no good just having a piece of paper that we just maybe get out one day before the end of the year and go, well, how did that go then? So that's the focus, really, and the purpose of today. But I think, just looking at the timings, we're 7 minutes in. I'm wondering if we can just get the presentation up and crack on with that. I don't know if you can hear me, Damien, or if you're busy.
I was randomly pushing buttons, but I've given up.
I can see your presentation, so I can see the presentation in your video display. So let's just ask people, can anyone see the presentation that Damien's just flicked up into the screen? Just type something in the chat box so that we know that you can see what's on screen and we can talk. Just allow a little time for that to come through. So I can definitely see the presentation in the YouTube version. So if nothing else, guys, if you look at the YouTube version, you can see the presentation is the long and short of that. I don't know if we can get it displayed in the Webinar Jam section.
I'm going to give up on that, to be honest. I have no idea what button to push, so...
Okay, so what I'm going to do then is just, I suppose I shall do the formal introduction.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, crack on. So 360-degree property business plan. Thanks a lot for joining us this evening, giving up your time in the evening to join us. Hopefully we're going to give you great value, great content. If you can see the screen, we've got displayed, it's a 3-stage property business development plan. So there's 3 sections primarily. There's a practical business plan. It's on one single page, so it's easy to read at a glance. You can just keep it to hand, stick it on your wall, do what you want with it, really, in that sense. the next stage is really just to break that down into the quarterly action plan. It could be a monthly action plan. We're not too precious about that, but just to break down the year into bite-sized chunks so you can prioritize what you're going to do during the course of the year. And you'll probably gather that there's a way of just breaking this down gradually over time. And then there's the 100-day fast start. So getting even more granular, what will you do on a week-by-week or day-by-day basis over the next 100 days? 100 days, by the way, comes from my good lady wife who works in HR. And ironically, she's just started a new job, and it's always a lot of focus on the first 100 days. So it seems to be a critical time. So if you want your year to get off to a good start, then focus in on the first 100 days, but you can't start there. And it's probably worth just flipping on to the next slide, Damien, so we can just talk about what we are going to cover today. So what's in it for you? Why are you here? What's you going to get out of it? And who are we to tell you is kind of what the next couple of slides is really all about. The 360-degree property business plan is, as I mentioned, it's one page, so it's for laser focus. It's not automatic, this, by the way, but it is capable of being aligned to you and what you want out of life. So we very much suggest that you focus on what you really want. And we'll talk in a minute about focusing on the long term and bringing it back to the short term. And of course, how to get off to a fast start. So how do you sort of bridge this gap between the long-term future and what are you going to do tomorrow? And how do you make it connect and relevant and join those dots? And the outcome, I think Damien might have something to say about this line, but the outcome really is to turn a wish, hope, or dream into a sustainable plan.
I've promised not to mock you during this webinar, so no, I'm not going to say a thing.
I think that was just a roundabout way of doing so. And for those who may have joined late, I'm Richard Brown, who's talking right now, and Damien Fogg, who's just interjected right there, and will probably make wise cracks throughout.
Probably not that wise, but cracks certainly.
Yeah.
As Richard said, we'll sort of introduce ourselves in a couple of slides' time, but really just wanted to focus on what's in this for you. As Richard said at the sort of the top of this, we've come up with this very easy planning tool to use, and the reason we came up with it in the first place and we still use it ourselves today is it actually does work. And we use this in our own business, and that's sort of in RWP business, but also in our own investing. And it helps us keep on track, know where we're trying to get to long term, but then also know what we should be doing on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. Now, the good thing about it is it's very personal to you. So although there are certain commonalities across all of us in property investing, you can really personalize this to make sure that it's exactly right for you. It's not just you should follow my step-by-step, one-size-fits-all type thing. So there's no guru systems here. We're not preaching to you. We're not telling you what you should do, how you should invest. What we're trying to do is make sure you do something that's right for you, and then how you go about achieving that. And then the big bit, this is sort of my biggest bugbear, it's actionable. So although we do start off with what's your long-term goal and what are you trying to achieve, your dreams, as Richard was talking about, but forget that. That's all very well and good. The only way you get there is by daily, weekly grinding at something. And so this planning tool really allows you to focus down on exactly what it is you should be doing on a daily basis to eventually achieve those bigger goals. So that's the biggest thing for me. And it's just, as it says at the bottom, it's going to let you do this in a very short space of time. And then it's something you can refer back to on a regular basis to just keep yourself on track, make sure you're going in the right direction still, but make sure you're still going for that bigger goal. So we promised we'd talk about, apparently the slides are a bit blurred, but I put my glasses on so I can see them all right now. We said we'd talk about who we are, and RWPT, this is us. So our core values really are being ethical, sustainable, and practical. And that really is sort of the core values of both Richard and myself and us as a company. And we specialize in education and projects for property investors, such as yourselves. So, but when we say core values, we really do mean that. It's at the very essence of everything we do. Whenever we have a conversation, whether it's about a new product or a client or anything, it always comes back to these same three things. What we're doing is going to be repeatable for them, so it's sustainable. We need to make sure that it's ethical. I'm a chartered building surveyor, so I've got to be above board and everything. But more importantly, from my point of view, practical is the biggest thing for me. I want people to be able to achieve realistically what they set out for, not just some made-up fairy goal. So a bit more about me. I'm 30-something. I think Richard may have changed this slide and couldn't remember how old I am, but it turns out neither can I. I'm pretty sure I'm 34 still, but I'll have to give it a bit of thought. Live in Cambridge now. I've got a master's degree in building surveying, so I'm a chartered building surveyor, and I'm also a mortgage advisor. So I'm sort of regulated by the RICS as well as the Financial Conduct Authority. So a lot of people looking over my shoulder to see what I'm up to. Over the years, I've worked for some big names, HSBC, the Ministry of Defence, Homes and Communities Agency. So for a long time, probably about 13, 14 years now, I've been involved quite heavily in the property sector. Personally, I've been investing for about 12 years now, I think it is. And I've done quite a lot of it, from managing 2 up, 2 downs terraces. And I was a lettings manager at one point, so I was managing 850 properties in total. And then I've developed over the years sort of 10,000 plus. I think it's about 11,000, something like that. For various, not all my own name, I wish, but for different organizations I've worked with and things like that. My own portfolio now is predominantly 2 3-bed terraces that are rented out to sort of starter home families. So young people with maybe a kid or kid on the way, something like that. So they're quite popular, broad demographic, and that's the majority of my portfolio. I've got a bunch of other stuff in there, but that's what I'm mostly focused on. And then you may have heard of me from another couple of places, Buy to Let Strategy, and also the Property Investor Podcast. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. And hopefully Richard's up next. Yeah, you are.
I am indeed. And, I'm fighting age. No comments. But I'm 40-something. In a couple of weeks, I'm another year older than he's even displayed on the screen. But hey-ho, I've had a life, had a number of different interests in career. I'm married, got 3 children. The words location independent and employment optional I really like to use, because I'm actually in an overseas location right now, not to be revealed, but I am in an overseas location right now, and do like to travel, do like to work in different parts of the world, and as a result, I tend to set up my my business operation so I can do exactly that. Wouldn't exactly say I'm Tim Ferriss in terms of 4-hour work week, but you get the idea. Obviously, had a bit of education, had a few phases to my career, let's say corporate land, consulting, own business over a number of years. And we'll move on from the age before Damien starts making wisecracks. But essentially, I'm financial services trained, HSBC, and some vendor finance companies that I used to work in, leasing asset finance in particular, so business to business more than business to consumer. And I've run a few businesses, call center business, technology business, and such like as well. As far as property is concerned, so the point of making the business link is you probably get more of a business flavor from me. You probably get a slightly different emphasis from Damien, and we do have this yin and yang type of approach going on. But in terms of property, I started the first property investment in the mid-90s, but only the second one in the early to mid-2000s. And if Damien winds me up later on, he can talk about how long it took me to get going with my property plans. But perhaps
don't worry, that's going to come out.
Yeah, I thought so. But essentially, quite a multitude of different interests: trading, refurbishment, conversions. I've got a portfolio of single, multi-let, holiday-let, overseas, UK. Very much into creative strategies these days, but it's a case of now I'm maybe running, but after I was able to walk. So only started with £10,000 and I've now got a multi-million-pound portfolio, traded a number of properties as well. So I always focus on adding value. That's my particular specialism. When people say, what's your strategy? It's really about adding value and trying to make my money go further. We talk about KPIs there of how I measure deals, but we'll get into that later as well. You might know me as the Property Voice. That's my alter ego. And I've got a podcast, blog, written a book, and I'm a contributor to YPN Magazine. I write a column there you may have seen. So it's just a little bit about me. And can't remember if I'm bridging this next part or if you are, Damien, to be honest.
I mean, with a seamless transfer like that, I think you should.
We better press the next one then. So 360-degree property business plan. Let's get into the guts of why you're here. And over to Damien.
Okay, doke. So the 360-degree property business plan, really there are two main sections. And as Richard said before, sort of 2 pages that you can just refer back to on a regular basis. And this is the first one. So you can see sort of there's a bunch of different headings, sections there, and then we go through each one and add something that's specific to you and that means something to you. So there's not really a great deal to go through there, but it's just to give you an idea of what it looks like. What we'll do now is go through the first handful of them and let you know, and sort of we go in a bit more in depth when we go through the full product, but just for now we'll go on those top line ones. So what do the actual sections mean? Starting off, we talked earlier about this longer term vision, and we refer to this as our someday goal, and that's really in the long term, what do you want to achieve in life? Now again, I suppose you can, I was thinking about this before, you can use this planning tool for any aspect of your life if you really wanted to. We are obviously talking about property and focusing on that at the moment, but that's really the longer term vision. Now, that's all very well and good, but you need to focus down on what that looks like over the next 12 months. So what do you want to achieve this year that's going to help you get towards that someday goal? And depending on how big your someday goal is, it could be a very small way there, it could be a massive amount there, but it's hard to sort of gauge without knowing what your someday goal is. But it's just to say, you break that down to 12 months. Now, in order to get there, you've got to follow a strategy and one that's going to fit your own particular circumstances. Now, we always talk about this triangle of time, money, and knowledge. And sort of you've got to figure out where your strengths lie in there, where you're slightly lacking, and then you can try and come up with a strategy that is right for that. So there's lots of different options, but the right property strategy basically talks about rental income, investor services, growing your capital, handling property, and then trading property. So there's hundreds, well, I think we got up to about 50, didn't we, particular strategies when we were talking the other day, but they all fundamentally fall under one of these 5 categories. So you need to focus on, for the next 12 months, you'd say, this particular property strategy. So there's no point trying to do all of them at once. And that's why we're breaking it down into a 12-month goal. Over the lifetime of your investing, it might change along the way, but for the next 12 months, you pick that strategy that's right for you. And then we start looking at key performance indicators. This is a big thing I'm quite keen on because I'm a bit of a nerd and like numbers, but how are you going to go about measuring this performance? And also, if you put a hard and fast number on, it's then quite easy to know if you've achieved it or you haven't. It's quite binary then. It's either a yes or a no. So some examples of this, for example, if you're calculating a deal and seeing if it stacks up, something like ROI, cash flow, net yield, they would be good ones to use. They'd be good key performance indicators because you can just say, does it meet my minimum KPI? No. Okay, then I move on. So it's quite an easy, straightforward way to do it. Key results areas, it's a bit more businessy speaky. So I think I'll pass this over to you, Richard. That's more your realm, isn't it?
You thought you might do that. I know you like the numbers side of it, the KPIs, for example. And I do like the words, why I like to write a lot. So key result areas, very simply, that's what are you going to focus on? So what are the big things you're going to focus on? And a bit of a clue is you can't focus on too many all at once. You can't focus on too many anyway, and certainly not all at once. And there's some areas there. So finances is quite a big area, obviously, and it's quite important in any kind of investing. Even if you don't have money, finance is important. And it's equally, if you're looking at some of the buy-to-let strategies and trading and things like that, which use finances, is equally important. But there could be other aspects as well which you need to focus on, and that might vary depending on where you're at with your own property business right now. If you're just starting out, there's some maybe a lot more learning, a lot more raising the money will come into the equation. If you're a little bit more advanced, you might be doing more sophisticated research of specific areas and that kind of thing, or looking at alternative strategies. So they're just a couple of examples of what a KRA is, but the long and short of it is what you're going to focus on. And then once we've got all of that together, and we've just quickly gone through that, and I'm sorry, by the way, I know some of you said you couldn't read all of the slides, but we're trying to speak out the words effectively, so hopefully you're picking that up. But once you've got the actual plan laid out, what you're going to focus on, why, what's your strategy, etc. Next thing really is to map out what you're going to do when. Now, we've written quarterly action plan. It could be monthly as well, but the idea of this is to break your year down into more manageable chunks. course is quite a good one to do. And this example, because it's an abridged template we're sharing today, it makes it a lot more sensible, perhaps slightly easier to read, although I'm not sure about that right now. So you break down your key result areas into these bite-sized chunks spanning the year, some of which you will have to focus on immediately, but others you can perhaps push.
Richard appears to have disappeared. Has all the audio gone, or is it just Richard? Yeah, it looks like Richard's disappeared. I guess he lost interest. So I'll vaguely pick up. Must be honest, I wasn't 100% listening to him. I was looking at the next slide that I was supposed to be presenting. There we go, perfect. So you can still hear me. Unfortunate. The 100-day action plan then. Oh, there we go. Press the wrong button. It's all gone to hell in a handcart. The 100-day action plan. The whole point of that is so that we focus down on a much shorter time period and make it quite specific. It's very definite and tangible. And if you can do sort of over this 100 days, only one action every single day, that's going to have a huge impact on moving you forward. And so obviously if you repeat that, then you're going to end up with 365 actions completed that year to help you get towards your goal. Now, we've sort of said it as one action per day for the 100-day thing. The reality is when I started, I had a full-time job. So I was sort of doing this on the side, as it were. And I would do I'd do maybe 2 or 3 things on like a Tuesday. Maybe it was booking viewings for properties. So I'd batch my activity for that week, and I'd maybe do half of them on, say, a Tuesday, and then maybe try and do all of my viewings and stuff on the weekend. So the 100-day, the one action taken every single day. If you can do it every day, then great. If you've got the time and the ability to manage your time like that, fantastic. That's going to drive you forward consistently. But for me at the time, it didn't work that way. So what I did instead was I would batch all my activities together, and then I'd just do them as and when. But I'd try and hit, in this example, 7 each week to keep on driving you forward. If you can do even more than that. So we held a workshop in London in November, and there was a guy there who was a voracious reader. I think he used to read a book a day, which still kind of boggles my mind a little bit. But he sort of went through the whole workshop with us and did all this, and he's kind of gone very quickly through this full 100-day action plan because he's very committed. I don't know what he does as a job, but he seems to get an awful lot of stuff done. Maybe he doesn't sleep, but for him, one action point a day wouldn't have been enough. He had the time, the effort, the inclination to just crack on and go for it. So in that particular instance, he wanted to do more than one a day. Equally, we've got other people that haven't. Oh, apparently I've gone now as well. Curiouser and curiouser. Well, bear with us a sec. We'll see if we can get people back. Richard disappeared. I'll see if I can invite him back. See if that works. Technology is great when it works, isn't it? I'm just randomly pushing buttons now. everyone can still hear me, so I'm still talking and not realizing people can. Richard's possibly getting back involved. I honestly don't know at this point. Bear with us a sec. We'll get there in the end. Probably. On the plus side, I'm going to move it to the worked example one. So at least you can start reading that whilst I press buttons in a blind panic to see what works. Yeah, Richard's managed to break his computer. He has a tendency to do this. Now that he's not here, I can talk about him. So Richard's, I'm pretty sure, cursed when it comes to technology. He's the only person I know who's broken 3 laptops in about 3 weeks. So he's a bit of a liability when it comes to technology stuff. But I think he's restarting and making noise. So I'm going to carry on, but if I periodically go a little bit quiet, it means I'm trying to figure out another button to push somewhere else. So bear with us a little bit. Professional and seamless was never promised, I don't think, which is helpful. So looking at this worked example then, we've sort of used a kind of a generic client, but also this comes from someone specifically that we're working with, or kind of an amalgamation of a couple of people. So they have this longer term someday goal of achieving basically a pension replacement. So they're looking at trying to sort themselves out long term in the future. And so it's quite a long, it's a 20-year goal to get £2,000 a month. Now, for some of you, you might be thinking, well, I'm already there, or that's not enough for my someday big dream goal. But for this guy, that suits all his needs, and he's quite happy with that. Now, scaling that right back to what does that even look like? To start from scratch to get £2,000 a month in property, as I'm sure if any of you have invested before, it's quite a big leap from 0 to £2,000 a month. So I think if you gave him that task of just go and do that, it's a little bit intimidating. You don't really know where to start, so it's a bit overwhelming. So we scale that back and then say, well, okay, what does that look like for the next 12 months? And the reality is, because he's going to go, and the right strategy here talks about the rental income, because that's the strategy he's going to follow, all he's going to do is buy and tenant his first property. So all of a sudden, to go from, I've got to earn £2,000 a month in property, don't really know where to start, to very specific, well, let's just buy a house. Pretty straightforward. Now, again, the strategy he's particularly focusing on is new build buy-to-lets. He hasn't got the time or really the inclination to be working in property full time, but he knows over the long term, over 20 years, it's a good investment. And we've kind of had the conversation with him about new builds. Are they the greatest investment idea or not? But he's taking that much longer term view. So it fits in with what he's looking for. Now, the KPIs we've set for him, it's only 2 of them that we've given an example of, but we'd probably go through a bit more in the full workshop. But this is just for sort of highlighting purposes. The minimum cash flow he should be expecting from each property, so from this first property he's looking at getting in the next 12 months, should be about £200 a month. Now, when he does all of his calculations and he runs his deals through an assessment tool, he can look at it and it will say, yes or no, will it give me cash flow of £200 a month? Now, calculators and tools, it's another conversation, another webinar on all of its own, but we kind of supplied him with one that covers all of the bases with void periods, maintenance funds, because he's looking at new builds and flats. It covers the ground rent, service charge, all that stuff. So it's pretty accurate. So when he can say, yeah, I'm achieving £200 net cash flow a month, it actually means he's going to achieve that. In reality, he'll achieve a bit more than that, but some of it we're saying, set that to one side so that you can build up a bit of a sinking fund in case a maintenance issue does happen. Now, the other side of that, hang on a sec. I think Richard's back with us.
I am.
There he is.
But you carry on. You're doing such a great job. Sorry about that.
Useless. It's all right. You missed half the bit where I just slated you for being useless at technology.
Okay. Yeah.
So the next one, the KPI for the return on investment. So this is sort of the percentage term of how much money he's getting back for how much money he's invested in that property. And again, we've set an achievable target of 8%. He's not looking for the greatest deal in the world, but he's looking for a good, solid investment. So 8%, it's something he should be able to find, but it's not going to be every single property he looks at. So this was the KPIs we've set for him. Seeing how you've just turned up and everyone's probably sick of the sound of me now, do you want to pick up the KRAs for us then?
Yeah, that was great timing, wasn't it?
It was really.
Your favorite part, the KRAs, the key result areas, which is just what he's going to focus in on. So I think in this case, you know, we do say maybe 4 or 5 key result areas only. We're just showing 3 in this version. Investment and finance in this case is clearly going to be important, and you can see, so investment and finance is one of the key result areas, and the action would be to get £125,000 in funding, perhaps a combination of cash and finance, to get going with the first property. And then in terms of know-how and learning, it's really how to be a landlord. I think everybody should understand, if you don't understand how to be a landlord, use a letting agent. It's a good idea to know what you're talking about anyway, and there's things like accreditation. You don't have to go that far, but it's quite a good idea to get accredited. And then the third area is really in terms of location, because depending on where you live in the country, you might not be able to find a property that you can buy for £125,000. So maybe trying to find an area, and even if you can find an area that you can buy affordably, does it give the returns that we've set up in the KPIs? So that's what we're talking about there in the key result areas, just a top level view. You can see how we're drilling down here for this particular person. So do you want me to pick up the next stage, Damien, or you back in?
Yeah, I'm drinking again now. So yeah, you carry on.
You're on the beer, are you? Getting too nervous. So really the quarterly action plan is, what are you going to do over the course of the year? And actually, if you read down, it kind of makes a lot of sense. Starting with finance, knowledge, and strategy. How much money? What do you need to know? What direction do you need to take? And then it starts to move into, that's in Q1. In quarter 2, networks, business partners, and marketing activity. It's all about getting out there, putting yourself about, finding deals, meeting people. Quarter 3, it's then about putting the systems in place and the processes, and making sure the activity goes to plan. Because, you know, if it's your first property, you may be doing a lot of viewings, you may be getting the finances in place and this sort of thing. So how do you systemize that? Maybe then you can repeat that for the next cycle and become more streamlined. Before finally, towards the end of that first year, it's really about gearing up for the next year. What have you learned? What can you do better next time around? And to recharge and refocus for the year ahead. So I've kind of painted it in that sort of natural progression throughout the course of the year. Lots of activity at the front end, systemizing as we go along, and then looking forward to how to scale beyond that period of time. Of course, these timelines might be slightly different depending on where you're at with the business. We're talking about a particular person here, which is a first-time investor. And then finally, the fast start. We're going to show you an example in a minute which breaks this down even further than what you can see on the screen, but broken it down to the first 10 days, which is usually kind of a planning cycle, budgeting, preparation, and then, you know, monthly chunks, 11 to 40, 41 to 70, and so on. So monthly budget to begin with. What are your gaps will be the second, you know, leg, if you like, of that. Setting up your habits, your systems, your routine would probably come next. And then Damien loves this phrase, hitting the phones, the email, and the streets. And I think that's why you wanted me to say it. But it's all about action, putting yourself out there. So you have to move from planning into action at some point. Is this me, Damien, or you want to pick this up?
No, you're on a roll now, so crack on.
So this is kind of the 2 things we're going to share in terms of template. One is the business plan template, which is the very first thing we showed you, that 1-pager. This is the 100-day fast start action plan template. And it's a Gantt chart, you know, if you hadn't realized already. And we're just showing a top line. You can see this KRA1 and the KRA2 and KRA3 are hidden from view. Mapping out each individual action and plotting a timeline. This is broken down by week as it happens. You could go really crazy, break it down by day if you really wanted to. And so the shaded areas represent when you're actually going to do different things. And the idea being here, of course, once you've got it written out, drawn out, you can move things around, because you might think, I'm trying to do too much too soon, or I need to do this before I do that. You can see that quite clearly here. So one of the later things under the established financial position and what we call bankability, how easy it is you are to raise money, whether that's through formal sources or informal sources, that comes down quite late. It's, you know, in this example, it's kind of middle of March, formal application for to get your mortgage approved. That's going to come downstream. There's a few other things you need to do before that, like get your net worth statements in place, get all your bank statements and credit checks in place in preparation for that happening. So there's a logic is what I'm driving at. So just imagine you build out this Gantt chart for each of your 4 or 5 key result areas or main priorities, and then you can map out effectively your action plan over the next 100 days. Something you can refer to, something you can chop and change. It's in Excel. It's quite an easy tool to use. There's nothing sophisticated like MS Project or anything like that. It's very simple. So the reality, and we're talking about, you know, some templates. We're talking about how to go through them and how to apply them. I think what we want to focus in now is how to really make it real, and just a little bit about how we've done that already and how we propose to carry on doing this. We're actually running a couple of workshops in the next couple of weeks, fairly short notice, one on Saturday and one the week after, but I'll come back to that. In the workshop, really, what do you get that you don't get here in this webinar or just from the templates? Because to be honest with you, the templates we're sharing with you or will share with you, you can take away and apply yourself. So there's no trade secret there, no secret sauce. Yeah, we've applied it to our business, of course, made it relevant to property, but we're going to give it to you. But if you really want to make things happen, imagine being in a full-day workshop with your peers and getting input from us along with your peers to create your own personalized plan. You roll your sleeves up effectively and get things done with like-minded people. We cover 3 main streams: buy-to-let, buy-to-sell, and joint ventures, which we pretty well know inside out. And the clear takeaway is your personalized plan. So we'd be disappointed if the people who attended the workshop didn't actually have a personalized plan, i.e. one that's relevant for them, suits their circumstances, their resources, their preferences, etc. So as I mentioned, we've got a couple of events: London, Euston area on the 22nd of January, that's Sunday. And then the following weekend, Saturday, the 28th of January in Manchester, the Piccadilly area, Manchester Piccadilly. So 2 levels of ways you can get involved. The first one is what we call a valued participant. You can see what Laura said. Laura was an attendee at the same event that we ran in London in November, and that's what she thought of it. She attended as a valued participant, and yeah, she has some nice things to say. But in terms of what you can get, we'll help you get prepared for the day. You're going to get a full day of workshop. There's going to be a little bit of a social thing at the end of it, by the way. So lots of networking opportunity, lots of areas for you to get support and insight from other like-minded people. But then we're also going to do live coaching from us. It's a bit hairy for us because we don't necessarily know what people are going to say, but we put people in the hot seat. So and then you'll be able to observe that coaching as we do it live. And of course, because we're doing this in streams, buy-to-let, buy-to-sell, and joint venture partnerships, what we're saying to the people sat in the chair is going to be probably relevant if that's on your agenda as well. And there'll be a check-in afterwards. So one of the key things that gets probably the highest rating after people have gone through an experience like this is accountability and support. But it doesn't necessarily always get picked up at the front end, but there will be some added accountability because we're going to be on your case basically afterwards. Some bonuses really, you know the score with these types of things. We like to add extra value. So we got a video of some live coaching from a previous event. It's 5 people who went through live coaching for each of those 3 streams, and we'll share that with you. It has a value of £25. And we've got a new service, a deal tips service. That's basically pre-screened property opportunities where there's an opportunity to add value, make some money, and a month subscription of that, which is worth £85. Now, we've already been told it's underpriced, this workshop. We would think that, wouldn't we? But other people have actually said it. So the ticket price is currently £97, but we're actually offering it today for £47. There's a link on the screen. I'm not sure if Damien's got the technology to be able to share the link in the chat box as well, but by all means go through and book your place. And I think just to flip to the next slide, we've got another level of participation. If you wouldn't mind flicking on, Damien.
Already flicked on, mate.
Oh, there it is, right before my eyes. I think there was a slight delay, sorry. So then there's a VIP participation as well. This is for a select number of people because we want to give quite a lot of attention. And these are the people, guinea pigs, I mean the people who will be going for the life coaching as well. So you can see what Walter said. He was a VIP participant in November. He has some nice things to say. But the benefit's the same as a value participant, but in addition, it's exclusive because there's only 6 people per workshop. They're the people who are going to be sat in the hot seat and get the live coaching on the day. And equally, they're going to join us for a mastermind lunch. So the 6 VIPs and us, and what can be better than that, eh? Having lunch with us. But basically, an extra bit of masterminding over lunch as well. The bonuses here, similarly, you get the live coaching video. You're going to get a personal check-in from us as well. So after the event, we're going to make sure your plan stacks up and get you off to a great start. And that's worth £200 in itself. And then we'll upgrade the, actually we've got a new service called the Club. It's all very mysterious. Damien keeps calling it the thing, call it the Club, but basically it's a community. It's going to be a select community because we don't want to go big with this. But 3 months subscription free membership of that for £285, worth £285 as well. So quite a lot of extra value. Ticket price $497 available today. You can't actually pay $197. You have to apply for the VIP. But if you apply as a valued participant, you can register your interest as a VIP. The same link will take you there, and go ahead. If you've been to that link already, you might notice there's 2 places, two venues where you can book. So make sure you book the one you want to attend. And I think that takes us nicely on to what should you do next.
Yeah, I think if I jump back in, I think the whole point of this webinar is to sort of get you thinking about what you want your property business to look like over the sort of the next 100 days, but over more than that, the next 12 months and going forward for the rest of your life. So as Richard said, we're happy to send out these templates. I think some of you may already have them. If not, just drop us an email and we'll get it across to you. But what we really want you to do is actually plan the year ahead and think about what you want to achieve long term. What does that look like shorter term? And then really break it down into smaller manageable chunks, and then really commit to taking that action. So we'd love to have you at the workshop. We can work through it together and we can make sure that what you're trying to do is realistic and goes back to our core values, is ethical, sustainable, all that sort of stuff. But just really commit to doing something, whether it's as little as 1 action per day. That's going to make such a big difference. There's so many people that we talk to who have been looking about investing for quite a long period of time. I think this is probably where I'm going to pick on you a bit, Richard. We were talking before the call about sort of how we got started and why we started coming up with our own versions of this that we mashed together to create this. And from when I started thinking about, I should probably invest in property, it sounds like a good idea. And it was mostly inspired by Sarah Beanie, I'm not going to lie. But
Sarah Beanie.
It was on TV all the time, so I thought, that looks easy, I'll do that. But from the first moment where I thought, yeah, I should start investing in property for some reason, somehow, it probably took me about 6 months of thinking about it, talking about it, and not doing anything. And so I'd faff around the edges a little bit, and I'd have a moment of, yeah, I really should get into this. And I'd do loads of work, and then I'd forget about it for a week or so, and then come back to it and kind of have to remind myself or go speak to all the agents again to find out what was on the market and all that stuff. So there wasn't really any structured thinking. There wasn't a set plan of, well, if I do this every week, every month, it's going to move me forward. It was a bit haphazard. I had no accountability and no support. There was nobody else around that was particularly interested when I talked to them about it. So that was the big thing that was lacking for me. Your delay was a little bit longer, wasn't it, Richard?
Yeah, thanks for that, Damien.
No worries.
My vote goes for Kirsty and Phil, by the way. But I think to answer your question, I probably watched about 4 years worth of location. I'm kind of making a joke of it, but long and short of it, when I decided that I wanted to go into property and pursue it as a passive investment and ultimately an active investment, where I'd spend my time, I had my eureka moment at Pub Beer Garden. Between that decision and actually buying my second first rental property, I'll tell you that story another time, but my second first rental property was 4 years. And in that first year, when I actually bought the first property, I bought 3. So I've kind of done a rough calculation that 4-year wait costs me around about £1.8 million. So that's pretty sobering. I think I need a drink now.
Joining us at one of our events, you could save what why didn't we put that in the bonus section? Save £1.8 million by coming here.
Because it humiliates me, that's why.
That's why I want to put it in there.
Yeah. So, but no, the truth is, both of us, we weren't perfect. You got going faster, Damien, to be fair. But
I got going faster, but I got going in a completely random, haphazard manner. And subsequently, pretty much everything I did was the wrong thing to do. I just started buying stuff because it was there. But in retrospect, it was the stupidest thing I could have done. So yeah, I went for it, but I just made massive mistakes, did it all wrong.
And I waited too long, and even when I did get started, I made lots of mistakes and chased shiny pennies and this sort of stuff. So we're talking from experience. We're being quite humble insofar as we made some mistakes, but maybe you can benefit from our mistakes is what we're trying to say here.
Indeed. So I think the biggest point, certainly, well, before we go on to that, is it wrong? I always had a thing for Kirsty Allsop.
I'm not sure you should be saying this on air.
Okay. So whatever you do, make sure you do take some action. So whether it is
even if it's fantasize about some property presenter.
Well, yeah. No, make sure you do take action. So if you've got the templates from us already, or if you want them, actually do fill it in. Spend some time thinking about it. We say it takes you 30 minutes, an hour. The reality is it can do. But you might want to think a little bit longer about it, really put some time and effort in. Once you've done it once, it's then very easy to revisit and just update and just keep on using again and again and again. And this one webinar, this could see your entire property career planned out for you and make a huge difference in what you actually achieve long term. If you want sort of help from people that have been there, done that, and probably made all the mistakes you might well make, then coming along to the event is a great way to meet other people and get in that accountability and support that both of us lacked when we started off. So I think we've already talked through how to reserve your space. So the link is in the chat box.
It is.
But you can always go here.
There was something else I slipped in at the last minute there, Damien, which might catch you out, and that's there's the second link that's on this slide. It's a highlights video. It's 1-minute highlights video from the workshop that we held in November in London. It's got some music and some nice pictures. So why don't you just have a look at that? It'll give you a feel, if you like, for the event. So if you're not really sure what it looks like and what to expect, that's a 1-minute snapshot of what to expect there.
Is there any chance you could just read out the address for us, Richard?
Read it out. Oh my word. Okay, so yeah, get out of it. So no, but I'm going to share it in the chat box if you haven't already. Did you share it already? No. Oh, well, I'm going to do it right now. There you go. So if people want to look at
the only other thing then on this slide is we talk about, we are nice people, we like to think. And what we've committed to do, Richard and I, we had a long conversation when we first started working together. And this isn't just about us. So what we both committed to is that 5% of the fees that come from these sorts of things are going to get donated to our help fund. And now they're basically charities or some kind of cause that's vaguely related to housing, enterprise, learning, and poverty. So by coming along to this course, you're also doing your charitable bit as well. So, but that kind of gives you an idea of our actual sort of core values, our morals, what we think about when we're doing all this stuff. Hopefully that resonates with you guys, and we can sort of bat ideas. A few people have sort of said, oh, here's a charity I'm interested in. If you've got a particular one that's close to your heart, let us know. And if it falls under our help fund, then yeah, we could certainly look at putting some money towards that as well.
Indeed. So yeah, it's not all about the money, but anyway, let's maybe open up the chat box and just see if there's any questions that are burning on your lips. And there's been a couple of things that have gone on, but this is your opportunity. We've got a few minutes left in the allotted time, despite all the technology issues. Apologies for that. But if you've got a question relating to the business planning process, Damien's secret fantasies of property presenters, well, maybe not that one, but drop it in the chat box. We'd be happy to answer your questions. Just giving a little bit of time for any of that to filter through, because I know there's a slight delay between you hearing me and that chat coming through.
It was excellent stalling tactics there, Richard.
It was, wasn't it?
I thought so. I was impressed.
Yeah. So you were Sarah Beanie, huh?
I mean, wasn't everybody back then?
Yeah, I was too, but I just thought I'd go different, as you'd already said it. I used to like the home and away ones. Do you know
What, the Australian
not,
soap?
no, not the Australian soap. Wow, that takes me back. Or it's still going, isn't it? I think. But yeah, no, I don't watch it. The property home and away. When they say, "Well, you're going to buy a second home in the UK, or you're going to buy one abroad," I used to like that one.
Was that Amanda Lamb?
Johnny and was it Amanda? I don't know. They changed those presenters a few times.
Yeah, no, Amanda did quite a lot of the abroad ones. I like that one too.
Yeah, it's funny you're mentioning all the females. I don't know if there's a theme here, but I'm sure that you appreciated the contributions of Phil Spencer as well. Anyway, needless to say, we're rambling. Con has asked a question. I can see it. How do we get hold of the templates? So
ask nicely.
Ask nicely. Please, can I have the templates?
You may.
If they ask, are we just going to give people who ask for them specifically, or are we going to send them out with an email following the webinar? I think is probably the real question.
Well, why don't we? If you put your hand up and say you'd like them, we'll send it out to you. We don't want to just bombard you with stuff if it's not going to be of use to, or if you come along to the event and you don't want to spoil the surprise. Then so Con will get that sent out to you probably in the next, well, however long it takes us to figure out what your email address is.
We'll make a note. The ones that shared tonight are slightly abridged. The ones on the workshop are a little bit more in depth, as you might imagine. But Mark, thank you very much for the kind feedback. I'm sorry about the video. Any more questions? Yes, please, Mark. I think that's for the templates, isn't it?
Yep. I'll make a note of some of these.
So yeah, a couple of people have asked about the VIP. Just to clarify, everyone would come to the workshop as a valued participant level, and then once you bought that seat, if you like, there's an opportunity to fill in some information. We want everybody to fill that information in because it helps us plan, by the way. So please don't skip that bit. It's very important. Even if you don't think you want to do VIP or anything, please fill it in because it helps us put you in the right stream and that kind of thing. But at the same time, it does ask if you'd like to be considered for a VIP position. And if you do say yes, it just opens up another question or two, which basically says, what are you hoping to achieve and this sort of thing. And we'll select very shortly who would actually get the VIP seat and be in touch. That's the way it kind of works. So I don't know if there's people who are asking further questions why I relayed that, but I know a couple of people have been asking about the VIP ticket and how do you get hold of it. It's by application only once we see what you're trying to achieve.
And I guess, again, that's another thing that comes down to us. We're not the gurus that claim we know absolutely everything. So we want to make sure if you've got a strategy that you're particularly interested in focusing on, we want to absolutely 100% know that we can add massive amounts of value, and we can say, yeah, we've been there, we've done that, we know all the things you're going to run into, this is what is the best way to do it, and this is how to avoid all the biggest hurdles. If you're interested in something that we haven't got as much experience in, we're going to put our hands up and tell you that, and then direct you to whoever the best person is. Usually, though, we can figure something out.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's very much our ethos. We don't want to sort of try and just take money off people and pretend to be the wolf in sheep's clothing. No, that's the wrong way around, isn't it? Sheep in wolf's clothing. One of those. We're not great pretenders. We know what we're good at. We're trying to stick with that. We've got an awareness and knowledge. If you've come across both our respective podcasts, for example, and blogs, we've got quite a broad awareness. But in terms of teaching, coaching, training, and educating, generally speaking, we try and share what we're really good at. Thanks, Sandra. I saw your note about the template, and it looks like you're going to come along Sunday. Brilliant. Tyrone as well. Got a note of you requesting the templates. We'll make sure we get them out to you. And Andy, thank you. Yep, it's our pleasure to share. I think we've got 1 or 2 more minutes, so I'm just keeping it open just to allow any final questions to come through. We're happy to answer them. Surprised we haven't had the question, is buy-to-let still worth it?
Is it?
Can be.
Ooh.
There you go. There's my answer to that one. Can be.
That was a bit of a cliffhanger question, was it? To find out, turn up on.
Oh well, I've written about it quite a lot actually. If anyone wants, I've written a column in YPN magazine about whether I think it's still worth it or not. So if you want that, just put YPN in there and I'll send it to you if you haven't seen it already. But yes, it can be. I think it's the long and short of it. I think it is. Yeah, you just need to structure yourself correctly, go in with your eyes open, have a realistic view of what returns you can expect and the time horizons.
Well, if we're giving away teasers and stuff like that, we've got a potential sort of wrapper way of structuring your investments that could have some decent tax advantages that will probably come out as part of the club. So the VIP members would have access to that sort of once it's all been checked out and above board from all of the accounting people and all that sort of stuff. So there are things out there, but as you say, it's just making sure it's right for you and fits in with what your long-term goals are and all that sort of stuff.
Well, that was a teaser, wasn't it?
It was, wasn't it? I think that could have been a teaser even for you, because I've not mentioned that to you yet.
No, I want to sign up. Where do I?
I'll do you a special price. It's 4 times as much.
Oh, thanks, mate. Appreciate it. So I think we're getting a few thank yous now. So really appreciate the thanks. We're getting towards the end of the allotted time. We do like to try and keep it that. We'll stay around if you've got questions, but you better be quick if you've got any extra questions you want us to answer. We appreciate your time in the evening, and thank you for appreciating ours as well. It's our pleasure to do this.
It could be a long while till we figure out how to turn this thing off, though.
Yeah, we could be chatting here for quite a while, couldn't we?
I mean, not for you. Obviously, you just disappear.
Okay. You might have gathered that we like to have a little laugh, have a bit of fun along the way as well. Not all serious.
Life's too short.
Yeah, indeed. Indeed it is. So I'm assuming with the not so many questions coming through and allowing for a 20-second delay or that sort of ilk, that we're probably about done. So thanks again, guys. Yep, we appreciate it too.
Really appreciate you all coming along.
And hopefully we might see 1 or 2 of you at one of the events. And if not, then don't worry about it. Take the content. I'm going to use your line, Damien.
You're stealing from me now. Go on.
Now you use it. Go on, you use it.
Just do something.
Just do something. And we're to help in any way we can as well. All the best.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.